Yo guys, welcome back to another video. So this is just gonna be a small session at Rosebloc 2 after my round at Nationals. So I was already pretty exhausted, but I still wanted to check out this gym because it's probably one of the best in Quebec right now. So this definitely won't be a super strong session, but I'm just gonna have fun with this new gym, these new holds, and the really cool setting in this gym. And there's also like a super cool comp wall that I want to show you in a few minutes. But first of all, we're going to talk about the grading system in this gym. So it basically goes from 1 to 14. And like me, you guys are probably more used to the V grades. So I would say every grade is at least 1 under or maybe 2. In this case, grade 8 would be V7 or maybe even V6. But I would say it's not really the main goal of this session. I just really want to try some cool boulders and try out this gym again since provincials. So as you see here, I'm already at grade 9 because I was already warmed up from my round in Nationals. And I would say this one was already a little challenging because you have these pretty bad holds and then you gotta go into another angle of the wall. But this was still in my warm-up type of category, so I was really just trying to warm up my fingers. And as some of you probably already know, I really love crimps, so I always pick up a boulder that has crimp on it. But when we go into some more dynamic moves or maybe slabs, I'm really struggling more. So this was the point, really warm up the fingers, warm up the body, and then go into this more dynamic type of setting. And what's cool about this gym is that it just feels like a completely fresh new gym by seeing all these new holds, all these new volumes, and the setting is also super great. So it's basically just like a fun session you're gonna have for sure. That's also one of the reasons why I didn't necessarily want a project in this session, and also because I was already tired and I just really wanted to try a lot of boulders and touch as many holds as I could because we don't have them here in Quebec City. So as you see here, we are on the first grade 10, and this is already a lot more challenging, but it's definitely in the range of like getting it in less than 5 tries. And these holds are really tricky because they have friction in the middle, but then the sides are dual text, so you have to hit it perfectly. And then the rest is also about these really cool holds that have a lot of friction, so they take out your skin, but at least you know you're gonna stick on them. And I would say the crux of this boulder was definitely the match or going into this last move because you're so extended, and unless you do the right beta, which is probably a toe hook catch, this is like my complete nemesis. I'm so bad at catching toe hooks like this. My legs are long, my arms are long, so they usually don't fit me too well. So what I do instead usually is basically heel hooks or try to break it because I am so bad at these moves and I want to get better, but I feel like it's kind of a waste of time since I don't fit in the box. So there's always going to be some moves you are less good at. So in this attempt, look how desperate the match was. I needed to hold this for 3 seconds because it would not be controlled. I was like using strength the whole way in, and my heel hook was the only thing pulling me in. So obviously after doing a grade 10, I was like, okay, let's go into a grade 11 because it was not too bad. And this one actually was really cool and achievable, but I was kind of missing some skin and this was taking a lot of skin. So this was my first attempt. I got to that pretty bad pinch. Some of them are good, some of them were a little worse, but the boulder overall was not too bad. The only problem is that second to last move. I was really hesitant on if I should have put in the heel hook or maybe just flag on the right side, but as it turned out in this attempt I could figure this out, but I got a foot slip on the last move. And in these type of sessions where you want to try a lot of boulders, you really have to put your ego apart and basically say, okay, it was a doable boulder, but I don't want to sacrifice skin or energy, so I'll just move on. And that boulder was cool, but I gotta do something else because it's just not gonna be worth. So we dropped back down to grade 10, where I think it was perfect for me to do in a few tries only. And this boulder was really cool because you have this first section that's so tricky with those volumes, but then some micro crimps at the end. And once I got up to those crimps, I knew that it was pretty much over for me since it's my strength. But they were actually very small, smaller than I thought, but I was still fine. and I could get the scent of the boulder. But it was definitely cool to pull on these first volumes that I never really touched before, so really cool holds and nice boulder. We're moving on to a grade 10 again, and I am here side to side with my brother because we have kind of a similar beta, but he is so much more comfortable in these volumes than me, because I think that's his strength, these big compressions on some volumes. And they're not too bad, but I was not comfortable the whole way in. And as you can see, he's making this boulder look very easy and cruising through the moves, since I am still here fighting in these big like balls. And I got the boulder but like 10 seconds after him. Alright, so we are now on the comp wall, and as you see here, they have another circuit which is R1 to R5. And R3 is around V8. Again, it's not really sure on the grading system, but nonetheless, these are some amazing boulder because they combine some holds with different colors and they use the wall to make some really big moves, either dynamic or some big slabs. And these really feel like competition boulders. So if I was in that gym, seriously, I would I would pay for that membership, because if you want to be an athlete and want to compete, these are the best simulations that you can have. So for now, I'm really struggling in this beginning section, but as you saw in this attempt, I could finally figure out the beginning. You basically have to use the wall on the left side with your foot, and then you just gotta commit to the jug. Even if you don't see it, you're gonna pretty much land on that position by just continuing the swing. And then the things, it doesn't get too bad, but it's definitely a scary jump because you have to go all the way to the right side and then go again into a jug. So it's really about commitment. It's not too hard, but it makes up for such a cool move, and the boulder looked just amazing. It was also super enjoyable, so this boulder was a 10 out of 10 for me. So we're now moving on to a R2, which is approximately V7. And this first move is so cool because you have to unflip this move, and you basically, it's a low percentage move, but if you hit it right, it's super easy. But that's what's cool about this setting, because it practices you to flash these boulders, and in a competition, for example, the flashes really count. So if you can get this movement in your first attempt, then you're probably placed better than others. And that's something I need to work on, and I think it's really cool that they have these low percentage moves that you can work on and probably get better over time. So we're moving on to another R2, and in this boulder on the left side we'll have a static method, and on the right side my brother decided to do the styno because it was a little more easy to go in that position when you're up. But when I lifted myself up, yes, it was difficult but less risky. So on my flash attempt, I decided that it was probably the best thing to do to keep the flash. But I would say if you want to get the boulder easier, then dynamic way is the best way to go. So it's really the same in this boulder as the last one. You have to practice your ability to flash the boulder. And in this last move, for example, it's a kind of a low percentage move because you have to jump one arm into the last capped crimp. But since I'm long, I'm really taking advantage of this situation, and I can go slowly into that last crimp. And instead of probably falling, I decide to go in a static method. But then I also wanted to try the normal beta, so just jumping on it. Alright, so we're moving on to another comp boulder, and in this one we see these dual techs hold in the middle section. And instead of doing a big paddle, I'll just let you watch what I do. So next boulder we have a R4, and this is the only R4 I tried because the other ones looked pretty hard and I wanted to try the most boulders I could. So in this one you see this first move is super challenging and the last one is also really hard. But to start off, I was falling off on this first one because I didn't necessarily understand how to engage in that position. and I figured out that you gotta go away from the wall, and then when you come in, that's where you go up. And I used a little reach to like keep my left hand underneath, but once I figured out the move, it wasn't too bad. The hard move was this one. On the last move, I kept on falling because generating from those 2 bad holds and the bad feet over there was not too easy. And I saw some video after my session of people just matching this one hold, and then they just completely skip the second to last hold and go to the last one. But I didn't try it, and I decided to move on because it was taking a lot of skin. So we are now getting on R3, and this boulder was really cool because this beginning, the feet are in another angle. As you see, it's like a 90 degrees, and then you can do this kind of knee bar. So it's really creative, and I think it makes up for a lot of interesting boulders. And in competitions, you often see these angle changes a lot. So it's a really cool thing to try on, because in my gyms, the boulders are usually only in one angle, or they change angles but in the same direction. But when it's a 90 degrees like this, they can put some feet in there and just do some creative movements. So the boulder was really sick, and the holes were also really cool. So we're finally to the last boulder of this video, and this R3 just looked amazing. Look at the stack of the volumes. It looks like a futuristic type of boulder, and the holes are so cool because we don't have these holes here. And again, they have some friction, but some parts of the holes are completely dual text. And on my first attempt, I actually thought this was a jug, but as it turned out, it was like a super small surface of friction, and I didn't aim it right. So I basically just touched the dual text, and that got me surprised. So I say it again, this is the perfect place if you want to do some competitions to practice on low percentage moves, because if you don't commit enough, or if you read the boulder wrong, or even if you just don't understand the movement, then you won't get the flash, or you just won't get the boulder. So it's a really cool thing to work on, and when you have these insane looking boulders with some amazing setting, it's just so fun to practice this style. So that was my small session at Rosebloc 2 after Nationals. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.